Alright, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be finally doing this last V Premium tier list. Oh boy, I know a lot of people have already put their 2 cents into what the format actually looks like, but I wanted to give you guys my 2 cents now. Seeing that V Premium is gone and dead for good, it has now officially turned into a side event, so we essentially have a time capsule format. For those of you who've never played in a time capsule format before, you have stuff like back like nowadays, like with Yu-Gi-Oh, it's like Edison format and Go format, you know, so on and so forth. So it's stuck to its own like thing. And outside of promos that get released sporadically, like 1 to 2 cards, most of these clans probably won't change as in terms of their overall tiering. Even when the new sets of promos get released for the rest of the clans, I don't see this tier list really changing unless there are massive changes to the format, i.e. an actual proper ban list one more time. But I severely doubt that's happening. And how I'm going to actually do this is I'm actually going to go in specific like order of like each individual clan, like when they were actually released, and kind of give you guys my 2 cents on it. I'm also going to try my best to also give you guys a kind of a guide, sort of a mini guide on how to upgrade these decks into premium in case you're actually curious about that, and give you guys my 2 cents. And yeah, I think there's really not much else that needs to be said, and let's just start. Let's start off with Royal Paladin. So Royal Paladin has had a lot of changes sporadically over the last like couple years. Specifically from as far back as 2020, you had MLB, which was pretty solid, simply because it could reach an 18k base by turn 3, while at the same time generating enough markers to make most decks cry. And then you also eventually had Alt Mile, which did its own thing. It was solid for a little bit, but eventually, when Jewel Knights came out, it completely took over as the primary deck for the clan. And really, right now, there's a massive toss-up between Jewel Knight and MLB in every single sense. And outside of specific builds to deal with very specific matchups, and i.e. the big matchup that everyone is still complaining and bitching about, it's just, honestly, Royal Paladin is a solid choice. Whether you go for the multi-attack option with Jewel Knight and generate enough attacks to make your opponent cry, while at the same time also having a nasty guard restrict with Ashley Reverse, or you go more the defensive MLB route that specializes on making the 18k body count in the long run, while at the same time generating a couple extra force markers a turn once you hit grade 3 to make the attack columns really hurt. I think either choice is fine, and if you're looking specifically to play this in premium, really all you need to pick up is the Jewel Knight deck set, because it comes with a lot of stuff. Maybe pick up a couple extra Crystal Lusters, and you pretty much got the deck, regardless of which way you go about it. Maybe picking up very specific strides. Like for MLB in particular, you'll need Gancelot because it gives you Blaster Blade's resist, and Blaster Blade is going to be a main grade 2 attacker in the deck. And then for Alt Mile, you just need the History Stride with the G version of Alt Mile, and most of your V pieces are just solid enough to make the deck actually function. So I think for that reason alone, if you're looking specifically at Royal Paladin as a whole, I think it goes in solid choice. I think it's actually not that bad, especially when we compare it to a lot of other Force clans, which I'll be going over later. Overall, it's just a solid choice. Up next, we got Kagero, and damn, this thing is awful. It's trash. Kagero's biggest issue is, outside of Overlord, the clan does not have any decent like viability whatsoever. Like, you could make the argument that Dauntless Drive kind of helps to an extent, and Lockkeeper in itself could be its own interesting control deck, but both are very easy to play around if you know what you're doing, and unfortunately that kind of goes as well with Premium. With Premium in particular though, both Lockkeeper and Dauntless Drive actually get decent. Not to the extent of actually being, you know, better than trash, but still, it you know, you can do some walkie stuff with Varga, with Dauntless Drive, and Lockkeeper in its own right can actually be kind of annoying to deal with at times because your opponent just may not know exactly what it does. But specifically for V, I think the main issue is that outside of Overlord, the clan doesn't do a whole lot to diversify itself. Sure, you get 3 Vanguard swings, but there are a lot of other decks that can get multi-attacking options and do it a lot better. Even if we're specifically talking about Vanguard multi-attacking. So I think for that reason, I think Kagero just goes there. Up next, we got OTT. I think this is also trash. If we're talking all honestly, the biggest issue is that it's, for the most part, a 3-attack deck in a several attack meta. And unfortunately, Oracle Think Tank, outside of Witches, just doesn't do enough to justify actually playing it in comparison to a lot of other Protect decks in the game. I think the biggest problem with Oracle Think Tank is not even so much the fact that it can have its somewhat decent game plan, but you have better options for Protect decks. Like, if you're looking to have, you know, Protect markers to increase your overall, like, shield value, you have way better options in that regard. And plenty of them, which we'll talk about later, are just universally better as in terms of what it's capable of. And actually being able to do, like, because realistically talking, right, outside of Witches, which has its own funny gimmick, what do you really play in OTT? Do you just play Battle Sisters, which hasn't been relevant since they first came out? Or do you go as far back as Susanoo? Like, there's really no consensus on how OTT actually plays in this modern format, and I don't see a world where it actually does well. Even in a side event, like, I'd love to see someone prove me wrong, but I haven't seen OTT top in a very long time, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So, I'm sorry, OTT fans, you're kind of struggling down here. But if you're looking specifically to upgrade to Premium, honestly, it's not too bad. You actually have a lot of solid win conditions. Momo in its own right is very annoying to deal with, and having Ishikishima plus Silent Tom is always a good thing. So you actually do have a lot of options in that regard, but at the same time, getting to that specific game plan in a very aggressive meta in its current state might be a bit difficult. So that's why I still say OTT, even in Premium, will be trash. Nova Grappler. I think we got our first mid-tier. Nova Grappler, regardless of which way you go about it, whether you go, you know, the Beast Deity route with the walkie odd-hit effects, or Victor with Dose Sledged, which allows you to, like, restand it a bunch of times so that way you can gain a variant of different effects. The biggest problem with Nova Grappler is essentially there are a lot of Excel decks that do its job better. Yes, it gets multi-attacking, and it could be somewhat annoying depending on which build you're playing, but you really don't have a whole lot of options, and I think you have just, the problem is that it's extremely piece reliant. Like, in comparison to a lot of other Excel decks in this format, Nova Grappler just wants to do a lot with its rear guards, but it needs very specific rear guards to make it function. You know what the sad part is? I think Beast Deity in a lot of ways is slightly better than Victor. Like, if we're just all honesty for a minute. If we're being honest for a minute, I think Beast Deity has a very solid win condition in the sense where they have their on-hit effects, which most people may not even know how to properly guard against. And so if they don't, it will catch them off guard. It will absolutely tear them apart. Like, you have to guard in a very specific rate just to be able to withstand their bullshit. And so it's just kind of unfortunate that there are so many clans that have Excel attached to them that do its job better. So I think for that reason, I think Nova Grappler goes in mid. And then if you're looking specifically to upgrade this in Premium, literally build Victor. Like, I don't think there needs to be else that needs to be explained. Spike Brothers. I don't know if I want to put you in mid or trash. I think, because I think I'm going to put this in trash. But I'm going to put this again above OTT. Spike Brothers' biggest issue is that there are a lot of better Force clans that do its job better. Yes, you have some funny shenanigans with Dudley, but really outside of that, who the fuck is playing Spike Brothers in V? If you're gonna play Spikes in any capacity in Premium in particular, just run V Rising Nova, go Galley Stride, and watch your opponent have to guard multiple attacks. The only way you legitimately stop that from going off is if you've got Hanali on standby. Like, legit. Because that or Overtrigger. Like, honestly, Spike Brothers is way more nasty in Premium than it ever will be in V. And so I think for that reason, it just goes in trash. Like, you have better options. Don't play Spikes in V. Up next, we have Tachikaze. So Tachikaze, I'm actually going to put above Nova Grappler in the mid tier. So Tachikaze has a funny little thing that they're capable of doing, where essentially they don't give a shit. Their biggest problem is they are pretty much DI on crack, in the sense where if you're playing true Ancient Dragons, you having to manually equip gauge every single card to get a lot of your effects off is kind of the problem with this deck. Because a lot of the time, especially with true Ancient Dragons in particular, you need to hit front triggers to activate a lot of your effects. And when you're equip gauging a lot of your front triggers and not really gaining any sort of effect from them, that's kind of feels bad. Especially when you run 12 front in the deck, which I've seen a lot of lists do. You're kind of struggling here, you know? And so I think for that reason, Tachikaze kind of just goes in mid. If you're looking to upgrade this for premium, I think going the Ancient Dragon route is probably your best bet, specifically because Ancient Dragons aren't that bad. Especially because Tyranno Legend in its own right can be its own win condition, so I don't know. I just don't see Tachikaze being much more than mid. And then we get to Mega Colony. Oh, poor Mega Colony. You go all the way at the bottom here. Actually, is that Mega Colony? Yeah, that's Mega Colony. I feel bad. I genuinely feel bad for Mega Colony because they've had an identity crisis since the very start, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Like, at least in Premium, you have a really nasty Floodgate in Greydora, but, which, by the way, for those of you who don't understand how Greydora works, it's basically like taking summon limit as well as skill drain and multiplying it by cancer. Like, literally, that's what it is. It is just nasty to deal with in Premium. But in V, what's your best option? Giraffa Reverse, and that's pretty much it. Like, you really don't have options, and I think for that reason, it just goes in trash. Like, I don't recall seeing Mega Colony doing anything, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Alright, up next we got Aqua Force. And Aqua Force, we got another solid tier. We got another solid choice. I think it's slightly no, I think it's just still slightly below Royal Paladin, in the sense where you need very specific pieces to do certain things. Like, if we're talking about Savas, yes, you have really good retire. Actually, you know what? I'm okay with putting it above Royals for one reason. Both Maelstrom and Savas are very solid builds. Maelstrom in particular has their on hits, which will always go off, which means multiple Vanguard swings or just different effects that basically makes it like really strong in the mid to late game. On top of having a natural draw engine thanks to cards like the Coral Assault, which can also be splashed into Savas, which has retire abilities on top of a whole bunch of different effects, and being able to generate 2 Excel markers a turn is never a bad thing. And so I think for that reason alone, I would definitely say that Aqua Force is a solid choice. Not as good as some other Excel decks which we'll mention, but truth be told, it's still probably one of the better Excel clans in the format. I don't see that changing anytime soon. Up next, we got Dimension Police. So Dimension Police, I'm going to say it is slightly above both Tachikaze and Nova Grappler. I'm actually going to put Tachi's down here. The more I think about it. I'm still kind of on the flip with it. Dimension Police, outside of the Enigment package, as well as with Black, kind of just doing a really nasty turn 3 effect, it's kind of not that great. I think just having that option is really solid, but also you also have Zeal, which could be kind of threatening in its own way. If you still want to go the more defensive route, Dieliner is never a bad option, but specifically for Premium, it's really hard to say, right? Like, Premium, like, everyone knows, you go Dieliner, you go Geomagic Glass, you don't care. But specifically for V, Enigment is probably your best bet. And I kind of forgot to talk about Aqua Force, but really, regardless of which way you go about it with Aqua Force, it's still going to be Struggle Street. But regardless, specifically for Dimension Police, I think that you're better off playing it in Premium, but if you have to play it in V, it's not a bad choice, honestly. It could be a lot worse. Oh, now we gotta talk about this. Grand Blue, we got our first busted fuck tier. Grand Blue has legit everything that what every Protect clan wants to do, but a lot better. You've got the natural draw off the ghost ship. You've got multi-attacking thanks to, Night Rose plus Beatrice combo. You have even further extension thanks to Grade 2 promo, which could then call out Beatrice to get a Skull Dragon back from drop. And you have a really nasty rearguard in the form of Skull Dragon, which just gets really fucking big. And extremely difficult to stop, especially going second. Good luck trying to block that shit. Like, honestly. Especially when they try to, like, turbo it. And not only Night Rose, right? But 7 Seas is also very annoying because it takes the Beast Deity route and multiplies it by crack. Because once they hit 6 treasure markers, GG, unplug the controller. Their attacks, they're going to get a lot more attacks, and they're going to be very annoying and hard to stop. Pretty much, if they get 6 treasure markers, it's practically GG. Like, honestly, you don't have an overtrigger in the deck, so you know you're fucked. Like, honestly, Granblue, regardless of which route you go, is a very solid choice. And honestly, it's probably one of the best clans in the format, without question. Alright, so now I think we have to talk about Shadow Paladin. And I think it goes in the solid choice tier, but I think it's at the top of solid choice. The main reason for it is actually quite simple. Shadow Paladin has a lot going for it, with Luard in particular being able to generate 2 to 3 force markers once you hit grade 3 and onward is never a bad thing. You got multi-attacking, which you can get 5 attacks with the crit pressure on a really good high roll, but more importantly, if they ever hit Karen at any point, Shadow Paladin, because of the grade 2 promo, could just pivot into a superior ride package, which in itself could be nasty in the long run, because getting the jump on your opponent while they're on grade 1, and then going into a full driver combo with 3 force markers by the time your opponent is on grade 2, if you go first on the really strong high roll, a lot of decks in the format cannot stand up to that. And I think on top of hitting Gurgia, you would also have to hit PBD if you actually do a proper ban list. Like, that's how strong it is. I've tested it at a bunch, and it's really nasty. So, if we're not looking for it and they're just going to keep it as is, honestly, Luard in its current format, very solid choice. I don't think you have a wrong way of doing it. Whether you go the Abyss Router combo or you go the Apocalypse Bat route to generate your 5th attack, both of which are very solid, but they both have their pros and cons. And so I think for that reason, Shadow Paladin definitely is probably the best Force clan by a mile, I think. If I'm actually being honest, outside of our other pick, which I'll go over later. But it's second best Force deck in the format. I think you can't complain. It's still a really solid choice. The issue with Luard, though, is it is a glass cannon. They don't generate enough hand, even with Abyssal Owl, by which point you're either wasting a CB or a Soul Blast, and either way, it's just a struggle street in that retrospect. And having to pick and choose between the two is really hard to decide on. Your best bet a lot of the times is if you're trying to generate the markers and not push for too much damage early on because of the matchup. A lot of the times you could just call Eldana and just draw 2 and pot a greed and not care. And honestly, Eldana kind of made Luard a lot better than it ever hope to have achieved back in the day. So I think for that reason, I think Luard is a solid choice. I think even Revengers aren't too bad either. Like, Revengers is what Overlord wants to do, but a lot better, because it takes better advantage of its rear guards, on top of having a very solid win condition in the Raging Reverse. It's just actually not bad. And there are plenty of other builds you could possibly do with it. PBO is a solid choice, because you can retire your opponent's board while at the same time applying a lot of crit pressure and just multi-attacking in general. You also got Claret, which 2 Vanguard swings, but they're very hard to stop, so there's a lot of options. It's just a matter of preference, really. Up next, we got DI. I'm going to put this in bottom of mid. DI's biggest issue is they randomly soul charge. And there are a lot of the times where they don't randomly soul charge. The only thing they really have going for it in comparison to a lot of other Protect decks in the format is Hope on Damp. Legit, without Hope on Damp, the clan would be nothing, right? They would not have enough, like, rearguard push, even with Shalharat, even with Amon, to actually make a difference. Hobon Damp is literally carrying the clan, the same way how Mizukaze is carrying Nubatama, which I'll talk about later, but yeah, I just... You have better options for Protect decks, honestly, which I'll go over later. I think you have better options, honestly. Pale Moon. I think it's personally mid. And I think it is actually above... I'm going to say, this may be a hot take. It is actually above most of those clans. It is not bad. But it could be a lot better. And the reason for it is, regardless if you go the Nightmare Doll route or you go, you know, the Talapsi route, like, Talapsi bunnies are actually kind of a funny deck, right? And I guess I haven't really talked about premium a lot, but truth be told, Grand Blue is self-explanatory, right? Because it's Grand Blue. It's one of the best decks in the format. Literally, you look up a Grand Blue deck profile, they're pretty much the same. As for the other clans, they're kind of just whatever. Shadow Paladin is always going to be a viable choice, especially now with the Revenger stuff. And kind of so on and so forth. So, I think, if we're specifically talking about Pale Moon's biggest problem is that it is very similarly a glass cannon to Shadow Paladin. Regardless of which route you go to, whether it be the Nightmare Doll route or the Harry plus Talapsi route, which I have seen someone do that, and that person cooked. Honestly, that's probably the best build for Pale Moon at the moment, because you can generate a lot of Excel markers and then follow up in the late game with the Talapsi plus Dragon play, and that's insanely hard to stop. Like, in all honesty, it is pretty fucking nasty. I almost lost to it, funnily enough. And so I think for that reason alone, I think there's an argument that can be made that Pale Moon is at least somewhat decent, but at the same time, you've got better Excel options. And so for that reason, I think it goes there. And then, I can't tell which one of these is Murakuma. I think this one's Murakuma. This one goes down here. I think it's just trash. If you're specifically building for premium, Yasue plus whatever the hell else you want to run, it's pretty solid. But if we're specifically talking about V, the biggest issue with it is, yes, you got Yasue still, and yet you got a few other options, but I don't know. In comparison to a lot of other decks, you don't have a lot of options. Like, it's funny though, because like there are a lot of niche like ways to build it, but specifically in comparison to a lot of other Excel clans, you just got better options, dude. Like, there's no need to actually play this. Up next, we got Near Nectar. I think this goes down here. Like, I think I'm going to put it at the top of trash. Near Nectar's biggest issue is, outside of Cecilia and the... I don't know, what was it called? Like, the Ouroboros thing that recently topped a while back. You really don't have a whole lot. Cecilia's biggest issue is you need to be able to actually see the Cecilia reverse on turn 3 and able to do even half of your effects. If you don't see it, that's pretty much GG, unplug the controller. The Ouroboros build is kind of more defensively takey, but you have better options in terms of overall defense, and you're better off building up a hand to withstand attacks rather than making, you know, certain rear guards and just your hand, like, naturally tanky. Like, you have more options. So I think for that reason, it just goes there. Angel Feather. Malkuth isn't bad, but I'm still going to put this in mid, and I'm going to put this slightly above Dimension Police. Yeah, I think we're going to put that there. Angel Feather's biggest problem is that outside of Malkuth, what are you doing? Celestials have never been a deck, and Gafrael hasn't been good since the Hamiel hit. Malkuth's biggest issue is that if you don't see certain pieces, it kind of feels bad, but honestly, it's not that bad. If you're looking to specifically upgrade to premium, like, Gavrael is still a solid choice with Gavrael Gisei, and No CL can do a similar thing, but outside of that, I just don't see a world where it's actually viable. So, I think for V, though, I think it's actually solid. I think it's very much dependent on how you go about it with the Malkuth build, but outside of that, you don't have options. I'm sorry. And then, yeah, we gotta talk about this. Honestly, if I had it my way, Gold Paladin would be its own tier. But I think I'm going to go against that for one major reason. If it actually got properly hit, it would be at the same level, or at least the same playing field as Granblue and some of our other picks. Because Gold Paladin, the only reason why it's this strong is because it has access to a superior ride that generates hand advantage, that while at the same time being as aggressive as fuck with your own rear guards, and you really don't have to really know exactly what you're doing with the deck to actually get results with it. It's kind of like similar to how Snake Eye Feed Sniff or in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is currently playing, and how the current Yu-Gi-Oh! Format in general is right now, where you could play the most subpar, suboptimally with this deck and still do moderately well. Like, that's how fucked up it is. I sold Gold Paladin because of how nasty it was, and I just didn't like how good it was in the long run. Like, I didn't feel like I was having to try most of the time with the clan. And so for that reason alone, like, Gold Paladin has always gotten the special treatment, funnily enough, especially here in the English side. Like, Gold Paladin got pushed up before even some of the original Set 3 support came out. Like, that's how good Gold Paladin has always been. And so I think for that reason, Gold Paladin just is the best deck in the format, by a fucking mile. If we're looking for other builds, like, Spectral Duke isn't bad. I don't know what else you could possibly run in golds that isn't Gurgit, but who cares, because Gurgit's a thing. If you're looking to upgrade this to premium, just put on Hit Stride, run a Xerath Dragon, or even Liberators. Liberators are also pretty solid in their own right. But outside of that, yeah, Gold is just best deck in the format by a fucking mile. Like, you don't need much else. Alright, and then we move on to... Is this Genesis? Yeah, this is Genesis. I think this is a solid choice. I think this is really good. Genesis' biggest thing is that you have multiple lines at play. Whether you want to go the FTK route with the Valkyrian and the Astro Poet route, where you just stack a bunch of triggers onto Valkyrian and just go burr, or you go the slow methodical route with Fenrir plus Melissa. You know, just having Melissa in general as a card is just insane, especially when you have a way to mitigate the soul blasting. I think it's just naturally a very solid pick into this format, because there are a lot of decks that just get immediately punished from it. And if you're not too careful, you will get bodied, like, straight up. It is actually a very solid deck. And I think for that reason, even in premium, it's still very good. Regalia is never a bad pick. Fenrir has its niche, still, even in premium. And Valkyrian is kind of just whatever, but honestly, it's very solid. I think you can make an argument that Genesis is good. I think if you're taking Genesis into a V tournament, you'll actually do something. And I definitely believe that. But in comparison to a lot of the other decks that are on the solid choice tier, it does depend on the pilot. It specifically depends on how good the pilot actually is at actually playing the clan. And so I think for that reason, Genesis goes there. Great Nature, also another solid choice. It's one of the few Excel decks that just keeps on getting better and better. And I'm kind of, you know what? This is going to be another controversial take. But I think Great Nature is the second best Excel clan in the entire game. The main reason for it is because it severely punishes Gurgit in any deck that wants to do a superior ride. Great Nature's biggest thing is that Hamskays go fucking hard. Being able to generate 2 to 3 Excel markers in that really nasty push turn, on top of having, like, natural draw and just having rear guards that do a lot to make your game plan a lot more threatening. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to go down the lottery route, but it's still an option. Like, you actually have options with this clan. So I think for that reason, Great Nature is never a bad choice, especially Hamskay. Like, you've got options. Like, you have draw, you've got rear guard pressure, you've got really nasty effects that go off if your opponent's a grade above you. Like, you're cooking. Honestly, it's very solid. And if you're looking to upgrade this for premium, Big Belly is probably your best bet, just simply because you naturally draw a lot and you don't have much else outside of that. So, yep, I think that's where it goes. Gear Chronicle. Ugh. Gear Chronicle. Oh, I wish you were better, but you're kind of not. I'm going to put you at the bottom of the mid. Ever since they hit Steam Maiden, Gear Chronicle has struggled to actually recover in V, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. your biggest thing now, I guess, is just going to be Chrono Jet, because Steamated hasn't been a real deck since the Antarana hit. And so I think for that reason, it's kind of whatever. You just have better options. Like, Luard literally does Gear Chronicle's job of generating markers while multi-attacking a lot better, and that will never change. So, sorry, Gears fans. And if you're looking to upgrade this for premium, just build Chrono Jet Crest. Honestly, Chrono Jet Crest go burr. Not much else that needs to be said. Up next, this is Narukami. Oh, Narukami. I'm definitely gonna put you like right around here. Eradicators are good. Vanquisher isn't bad. I'm actually gonna put you like down here. I think that Narukami, is still pretty strong. Nowadays, though, whenever you play Narukami in V, you're going Armor Break or Bust, because that's all you got going for you. But specifically in Premium, this is still, I think, one of the best decks in the format. You have a natural draw engine from Demolition Dragon on top of having your Excel marker generation, on top of having, all of the strides and the G guards that you could possibly want in the clan to make it viable and have a very solid game plan. And so I think for that reason, it goes there. I definitely think it's just a very solid choice. Even in Premium, you can never go wrong with Narukami. Nubatama. What the fuck do you do again? I think you go down here. I know. Nubatama can cook, but its issue is that outside of Shiranui, what the hell are you doing? I just don't see this clan talked about a lot in V. It's more so in Premium because, you have Shiranui Crest and you could just do stupid shit with that. And it's probably one of the best decks of the format by a fucking mile. And so I think for that reason, if you're going to play this in V as a side event thing, you could technically do it, but it's not recommended, honestly. You have better Protect decks that do its job better. And if you're going to upgrade this to Premium, you should definitely do so. That is my personal recommendation. Instead of playing it in V, you should just upgrade it to Premium, because that's how good it is in Premium. Up next, Link Joker. I know this may be yet another controversial take, but I think this is a solid choice. The main reason for it is Chaos Breaker is never a bad option. It's especially into this format where there are a lot of clans like Shadow Paladin, like Rambloo, like Gold Paladin that immediately get punished from Chaos Breaker. And even Glendios isn't a bad option either. Glendios, a lot of people say that it's even better than Chaos Breaker, which to that I say yes and no. It's very dependent on how you build it. But truth be told, I think that Link Joker, if you go the Chaos Messiah route or you go the Glendios route, you have something going for you. And so I think for that reason, I think that Link Joker is a solid choice. If you're looking to upgrade this for Premium, Deleter Messiah is never a bad pick, though it is extremely piece reliant and you have to know how to pilot it. And for Chaos in particular, it's never a bad control deck. It's probably one of the better control decks in the format. And it got a slight buff thanks to the release of the History Collection strides on top of the Premium Battle deck sets that just came out, which also have a superior stride effect, which they need to not have markers to activate. So if you just give them a force marker, you shut them down out of all of their plays. And so I think for that reason, Link Joker is actually not bad. Regardless of which route you go about it, it's a very solid choice in my honest opinion. And then for the last clan, Bermuda Triangle. I think this goes in busted as fuck. That is our last busted as fuck in this entire tier list. Bermuda Triangle has always been good in V. Whether it had been Melody, Riviere, and Highlander, and now specifically Anj, you have a lot of ways to kill your opponent. You have the multi-attacking aspect, you have the on-hit pressure from the grade 3s, you have force marker generation that is really reliable and decent thanks to Anj's ability. It is very hard to stop, and it is easily the best forced clan in the entire format. And it's actually kind of funny how, in a weird way, back in the day, when V first started, a lot of people were like, force beats, Excel beats protect beats force. You kind of have a funny trifecta between Granblue, Gold Paladin, and Bermuda Triangle. Although that would be the case if only Gold Powder had actually gotten hit in any sort of shape and way. But specifically for Bermuda, if you're going to upgrade this to premium, you have a lot of options. Riviera is never a bad option because of the ride jump. You have Highlander, which is always going to be a very solid pick. However, like a lot of other clans in premium that are good, you need to learn how to pilot it. Otherwise, you're going to struggle a bit. Especially since Highlander in particular, most of their cards are one-ofs. So you're having to learn how to play with basically a one-of deck. It is very hard, honestly. I can never see myself playing it for aesthetic reasons. But if you're looking to be very technical with your plays, Bermuda is probably your best bet. And there are two other clans, or two other decks, I should say, that I want to talk about. One of which did get released, and that is Bang Dream. I don't know what this clan does, or rather this deck does in V, so I'm going to say it's trash. But specifically, if you play the Thai format, Common Rider, I think it's Common Rider. I'm not 100% sure, I'll probably double check it on CFA. You play against that deck goes super fucking hard. It is actually, unironically, busted as fuck. Because it is the only deck in the entire history of the game that can take advantage of Protect 2. Because what happens when you take Luard and Protect 2 and use Super Poly on it? You get Common Rider. Essentially, they have a very similar game plan where they generate Protect 2s to not only boost up their rear guards, but give inbuilt protection effects on them. And then on top of that, their multi-attacking goes super fucking hard. And if you're not too careful, and you just brick for whatever reason against it, you're cooked. Like, honestly, I think it would be, if Kamen Rider ever got released in English, it would be busted as fuck. I'm not even exaggerating on that. Like, I know a lot of people are probably sitting there and be like, I beg your pardon, but honestly, you look and read through some of those card effects, and you tell me that some of their shit is fair. Like, honestly, it's not bad. Like, honestly, it's kind of a toss-up between solid choice and busted as fuck at that point. But yeah, that's my take on Kamen Rider. Because I faced it with Luard a bunch of times and I got cooked. There were a lot of games where I just did not, build up enough advantage. And even against, when I was playing other decks, like, Kamen Rider just cooked. It was that good. But yeah, that's gonna do it. That is it for this tier list. I'm gonna miss V personally because that was the first full format I was able to play IRL, start to finish, I should say. Even though I've been playing since 2013, I met a lot of my friends during the V era, and it will always have a special place in my heart. Although I will never take it seriously ever again. I think if they ever hit Gold Paladin and make the format actually playable, absolutely I will go back and play V. I actually don't mind gift markers, despite how broken they were and how they've pretty much defined premium. I still enjoyed V throughout. The pros and cons, the good and the bad, even through multiple Excel hells. I enjoyed V. I wish they would have done a lot more support. But of course, after a certain point, you have to come to terms with the fact that it's not going to make you a lot of money. And so I think that was probably the only way they can go about it. So, yep, that's going to do it for this. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think about this. Am I right on the money or just kind of, all over the place with it? And until next time, this is Noah, and I will catch you guys later. Bye, everyone.